Welcome to Luxury Leaders, your favorite podcast for all things hospitality. I'm your host, Brandon Stone, and our guest today is the lovely Mary Rogers, the managing director of the Montage Laguna Beach. Hi, Mary. How are you?
Morning, Brandon. Great. How are you today? Or good afternoon. I know that you're on the East Coast. How are you doing today?
I'm actually central. It's 1 o'clock here. I'm in Oklahoma.
Nice.
Yeah, thankfully I'm not on the East Coast. There's some bad weather going on up there. I'm sure you're
I
glad you're
know.
not in Miami anymore.
No, I know. It looks like that storm is getting bigger and bigger by the hour. Wish everyone to be safe the next few days.
Yes, definitely. So Mary, thank you so much for joining us. I've heard so many good things from so many different people about you. So it's such an honor to actually be able to talk to you live. I'd love to find out your story of how you got to where you are today.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for having me. It's an amazing podcast, and I listen all the time. So it's an honor that you asked me to join. As you mentioned earlier, I'm the managing director of this amazing resort in Southern California, Montage Laguna Beach, which is just 21 years young right now. It is the flagship of Montage International, the hotel where Mr. Alan Firstman started and created his hotel company just over 22 years ago. I joined Montage International as the general manager of Montage Laguna Beach in April of 2021, just as California was coming out of COVID. So it was a very interesting time to relocate to Southern California. My family and I did relocate here from Miami, where I spent 12 amazing years prior to joining Montage at the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach, working for Jeff Sofer and his team which was at the time newly renovated $1 billion renovation of the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach. And I spent 12 wonderful years there working predominantly in operations, having worked up from catering convention services into hotel operations, and became the general manager of Fontainebleau Miami Beach in January of 2018, which was an amazing milestone for myself because it was my first GM role. And also it was the first time Fontainebleau Miami Beach had a female GM since it opened its doors in 1954. So it was a wonderful time, and I loved working there. Prior to Fontainebleau Miami Beach, where I was for 12 years, I also spent 10 years with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. When I first moved to the United States in June of 1999, I joined Ritz-Carlton right after I finished hospitality school, and spent as well 10 wonderful years in 5 different locations with Ritz-Carlton, from Tyson's Corner, Virginia, to we opened Grand Lakes in 2003. Then I went to the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, the Ritz-Carlton Jamaica, and finally ended up at the Ritz-Carlton Lake Las Vegas. So it's been a great journey, and delighted to find myself now on the West Coast working with the wonderful team at Montage International. As well as my role here at Laguna Beach, I also oversee, as an area general manager, some of our properties in California, including our beautiful Montage Healdsburg in Sonoma County, as well as the Pendry West Hollywood and the Pendry in San Diego. So lots going on, but it's fun. It's been an amazing journey, Brandon. So I'm happy to share that with you today.
Thank you for sharing that, Mary. Did you always know that you wanted to be in the hotel industry as a GM? How did that come about?
Yeah, I don't think I initially started off that I wanted to be in hotels. I was born and raised on our family farm in the west of Ireland. I'm originally from Ireland, and I'm one of 8 children. And when I was in high school, I wanted to, as most high schoolers do, wanted my own pocket money. And my parents told me to get a job, a summer job, which I did. I got a job working in a bed and breakfast in the coastal town where I'm from in the west of Ireland. And I worked in that bed and breakfast for 5 summers in a row. Every year I'd go back and we, welcomed the guests and helped out serving them breakfast and cleaning the rooms after they left, all that good stuff that you do in a bed and breakfast. And when I had to apply for college, actually, the lady that owned the bed and breakfast told me that I should apply to do hotel management. I hadn't really thought about it before that. I was very uncertain what I wanted to do when I was finishing high school. And she told me that I was very good with guests and talking with people. So she thought I should go study hotel management, to obviously, which I ended up doing. So it's all thanks to Mrs. Jordan that I'm here today. But I originally didn't start out that way. But when I was in studying hotel and catering management, I definitely knew that it was something that I would be able to fulfill my dream of traveling the world, which was, I knew would be a great gateway to see places that I'd never be able to see without this opportunity to travel, but also to meet extraordinary people and definitely never be bored, because no 2 days are the same. So it's been a great journey. While I started out in the front office, I didn't necessarily ever think I'd become a GM, but a few years later, I was very certain that was the road I wanted to go through. And it's really been an exceptional journey where I did get to meet amazing people and travel to amazing places and meet some of my best friends, which are still my friends today.
That's great. They say the true definition of luxury is creating memorable experiences for your guests. What was one of the highlights from that bed and breakfast that you still remember to this day that just brings a big smile when you think about it?
Oh, there are so many. We had one of the things that's amazing about that particular bed and breakfast is there were so many repeat guests that would come every year. She'd been running her bed and breakfast for many years, and she had the same people come year and time again, and lots of families, because it was again like near the beach and it was near the ocean, so there was lots of families that would come every year. And I just remember many times just going to, getting little gifts for the kids, or getting pails and buckets for them to play at the sand, and just making their stay extra special in terms of taking care of their children, which of course is always an amazing way to the hearts of guests, making sure that the children had a great experience and getting them little things that made their stay a lot more memorable, and then making sure the parents had also an opportunity to have a great time. I would also extend my services to babysitting for the children while the parents would go out at night. So that way they would be able to have a great experience, not only for their families to be with them, but also for the adults, which I think is very important. Even today, it resonates even today that we have, we definitely make sure the kids are having a good time, which means the parents. I know as a mother of two children myself, that's a really important aspect of all hotel stays, where I consider making my own personal stay.
Yes, definitely. If you treat the guest kids as your own, you're
Yeah,
definitely going to, warm up their
yeah,
hearts, and
absolutely.
they will welcome you. Um, that's a great memory. Tell me what made you decide to want to come to the United States out of,
Yeah, it's a great question. So we were in fourth year in college, so it's a 4-year degree that we were studying. And in our fourth and final year of college, we did a case study on the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company. And they went on to talk about the Malcolm Baldrige Awards they had won, obviously, but also that the founder of Ritz-Carlton, Mr. Horst Schulze, I'm sure you've heard this many times, he believed, or there are of course ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, that the associates or the ladies and gentlemen that work for Ritz-Carlton would be treated equally as good as the guests would be treated, which was pretty foreign concept, to be quite frank with you, in hospitality. It's especially back then, 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it was pretty notorious for not the greatest conditions, for us, not the greatest industry to go into, or long hours and little pay. And I remember when we were studying that case study in college, I remember distinctly thinking, if there is a hotel company out there that believe that the associates are equally as important or is treated equally as the same as the guests, then that is the hotel company that I wanted to work for. And fortunately, most of the hotel schools, most of the hotel companies came to the hotel schools in Europe recruiting. And on the recruitment day for Ritz-Carlton, I was very adamant that that was the company that I wanted to work for. And that was the only company I wanted to interview for after I finished college. I believe around that time they interviewed about 72 of us, and they selected 3 of us to join the Hotel J1 program, which was what we joined back in 1999. And fortunately, I was one of those people, and I was obviously very excited. So that I knew that joining Ritz Carlton was what the company I wanted to join. And I knew that most of the time, most of their hotels were in the United States, which I was very excited about going to. And yeah, I left 2 weeks after I graduated college, which was May. So I graduated in May, and 2 weeks later, with two suitcases, I headed off to Tyson's Corner, Virginia, which I had no clue where that was.
Right.
So myself, my two suitcases headed off, and that was 25 years ago. And I mean, I've been back many times, but this is home now. So yeah, that's why I decided to come to the States.
Awesome. Um, what was one of your favorite things about, you see it from afar, you study it, and then once you get into the company like a Ritz-Carlton, and you get to live it, what was
Yeah.
your favorite thing about actually being in there?
I mean, it does ring true. Everything that Mr. Schulte said is very true. It is an exceptional associate-centric culture. They truly do take care of the ladies and gentlemen that work there, which is a beautiful thing. And it's definitely something that has stood very well to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, and which has been hugely successful and has grown so much. I think when I joined, it was like 72 hotels, and I don't know the exact number, but I know it's probably near double at this particular point, which is amazing success for them. And they do have a wonderful engagement with their associates, and they definitely put a lot of emphasis on taking care of the associates, who of course in turn take care of all of their guests, which is awesome. The other thing that I will say for me personally at Ritz-Carlton, it was an exceptional learning ground into hospitality in the United States. They truly teach you the basics. They do a tremendous amount of training and retraining, and they ensure that all of the ladies and gentlemen that work with them know the job that they have to do each and every day, and they train and retrain again on the culture, making that concept of ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, very relevant to everyone, from anyone working in housekeeping to the general manager of a hotel. So definitely for me, they were very true to what they said they were doing. I mean, I studied it in a case study and then became an associate in real life, and that was amazing. So they definitely stand by what they say they do, which is wonderful. And then for me, it was just an exceptional training and entry into the hospitality industry in the United States. And to this day, I still have my Credo card on my desk. And I really believe that it was a great foundation and place to start for me when I came to the United States.
How has your management style evolved since then?
Well, I definitely, similar to how they believe in their culture, I think the concept of taking care of your associates first and foremost is something that has stood with me over time and has, in my opinion, proven very well. And I think that is something that is consistent. And as a leader or as a management style, having a huge focus on associate engagement is a wonderful way to get our associates and everybody involved in taking care of the guests and making sure that those guests come back to you time and time again, because obviously that is a huge focus. And even in our hotel here at Montage in Laguna Beach, we have over 40% of our guests that repeat every single summer here, and taking care of them and making sure that their families feel welcomed back and everyone feels like they're taken care of. It all starts with the associates, and having a management style or focus on taking care of the associates it's very rewarding, and it's certainly one that it pays off very well, because the associates are the ones that take care of the guests that come back time and time again. And then just personally having experience, I think experience and time it will always alter your management style. I think the young leader that I was, even before I had my children, for example, in terms of intensity or in terms of focus, has evolved and changed over time. And what's, important back then is still important today, but really how you, handle those situations or respond to those situations has definitely evolved over time. So in other words, my leaders will tell you that I've, become I'm a lot more calm these days, and a lot more, understanding, and a lot more, empathetic towards situations, which has really evolved over time, I think. And again, that's just time and experience, which happens to most great leaders in this industry.
Yes, you mentioned having children. How did becoming a mother change your management style?
Yes. Again, just kind of like what I just said a few moments ago. I think when you are, I think as a you're a mother at home and a mother at work where you're responsible for everyone's well-being regardless. And I think when I had my own children, I realized that, while things that, the pillows might have been, perfect in the lobby, or the flowers mightn't have been, perfect before, whereas that used to really bother me or really get me, frustrated when you have your own children and you're responsible for babies or responsible for young ladies becoming adults. You realize that maybe the pillows or the flowers not being perfect is not the worst thing in the world. And obviously we get to it and make the changes when time is appropriate. But I will say that becoming a mother in the hospitality industry has helped me with my patience and has helped me with my understanding of my associates' personal lives also, as well as giving me a tremendous amount more empathy, not only towards our associates but also to our guests, as I see things certainly through a different lens. So it's been great on many levels. I've also really tried to hone in on the work-life balance as it relates to working mothers, working parents in general, but certainly even all the fathers out there, really having an understanding and an empathy and a push towards having a work-life balance. Because this industry, as you know, Brandon, has somewhat of a reputation in terms of, I said earlier, long hours, and I'm really trying to change that or change the narrative on that, making sure that setting boundaries and setting times that you're in the office or times that you have to leave the office to see your son's or daughter's soccer game, or to make sure that you take your children to their first appointments, or make sure you're there for the open night at school, or whatever it is, or you have to go to the vet with your dog or your cat, or whatever it is that's important in your life, making sure that people set those boundaries and have that balance, because I think that's a way we can get a lot more leaders into this industry and stay in this industry, and certainly increase the female club of GMs, which is something that I would love to continue to focus on.
Yes, it is a more male dominant industry. Was that a big challenge for you coming up as a woman in the hotel industry and being able to put your
Yeah,
stake
I,
in the ground?
I mean, fortunately for me personally, I never really saw gender as an issue, and I say that because I grew up. I mentioned earlier, I grew up on a small farm in the west of Ireland. I'm one of 8 children, and my parents, when they were starting their family, they wanted to have a lot of boys, which they believed the boys would all help on the farm. So lots of boys, lots of free labor, and ironically, the first was a girl, the second was a girl, the third was a girl, the fourth was a girl, the fifth was a girl, and the sixth was a girl. So my father was like, "Okay, well, it's a house full of ladies, so let's go." And we did everything that he would have expected, the boys to do. And so growing up, fortunately, I never had any barriers towards gender in terms of male, female, and whatever work was on the farm that was be done by man or woman was just done by his 6 daughters. And we did all that work before school and after school, and it allowed me to really focus on just working hard and setting goals for myself, and never really having to focus on gender. So that's very positive in that sense. The one piece that I've seen throughout my career is, particularly, I would say, when I became a mother. So my daughters right now are 10 and 9. Valentina is 10 and Olivia is 9. And the one piece that I continue to, or especially when I had them first, that I felt I had to justify how I was going to balance my time as a hospitality professional with becoming a mother. And I'm not necessarily sure that would have been asked of my male counterparts. And that's the only thing that I've kind of had to overcome over the years, particularly as relates to childcare or hours in the office or meeting deadlines. And again, I'm not sure that my male colleagues would have got the same questions if they were just first time having to first-time parent or first having children. So I've experienced it in that form, but necessarily nothing to do with my gender in terms of getting work done or, leading and running hotels. So that's fortunate.
Got it. I know in some past interviews you've emphasized the importance of maintaining a positive attitude no matter what. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's it's actually my motto in life, is that your attitude in life will determine your altitude in life. And I strongly believe, and you're so right, I talk about it a lot because I believe it's all about how you set your mindset when as soon as you put your 2 feet on the floor and wake up in the morning. I even see it with my daughters. One is always worried about something and the glass is half full, and the other one's always cheery and peppy. And it's all about, I believe, your attitude towards everything. Yes, it's going to be a tough day. Yes, it's a long day, but I think it's how you start it off and look at it that, will get you through those great days. And remembering the reasons that you are doing something for, if you're doing something for a particular reason to make the owners happy or to really shine as a GM or to have a great day as an associate working at the front office, it's your attitude that will determine your success for that day. And I strongly believe it all starts as soon as you wake in the morning with a great attitude that you're going to get it done and the reason why you're going to get it done, and it's going to all be paying off. And it's just everything to me because I think if you start off with a negative, oh, today's going to be a long day, it's already going to be a long day because you already got that attitude in your head. So I think positivity and attitude is everything as it relates to facing each and every day. Not always easy. Some days are much harder than others, but I think if at least you have a positive attitude towards it, it'll make it that much easier. I think that's everything in life. It's from, cleaning the bathrooms at home to doing the laundry or clean the sheets, which I hate doing, but like, let's get it done. They're gonna be nice and clean when it's done, or to even, doing a deadline. All budgets are due right now, or business plans are due, and, just having a great attitude towards it and really getting it done in time it will help you go a long way.
That's a great outlook. Where did you learn that from?
I don't know, actually. I've always been that way. I'm the fourth of 8 children. So there wasn't a lot. I wasn't, even if I did complain, they'd be like, get in line type thing. So I don't know. I've always kind of been that way, and just a real attitude towards, like, let's get it done. Let's do it with a great attitude, and the outcome hopefully be as good as it's going to be. But I really genuinely have been that way my whole life because, again, we had to kind of just get on with things. And, having a negative attitude in a family of, 8 brothers and sisters, it didn't really go over that well. So it's really carried through my life where it's like, let's go, let's just get on with it, get over and done with, and, do it with a smile as best as possible. So yeah, it's always been something that um, has carried me through a lot of really great days and some not so great days.
Who are some of your favorite mentors coming up through the industry?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that throughout my career from Ritz-Carlton to Fontainebleau, I've always been able to have a number of mentors, and from always from my direct boss or some amazing leaders at Ritz-Carlton that I always looked up to and aspired to be like when I was older, or the president at Fontainebleau when I worked with him, or the person that brought me to Fontainebleau from Ritz-Carlton. He's still working with us today at Montage International. I'm very much in awe and feel very fortunate right now to be working with directly with Mr. Alan Firstman, who at a very young age created this hotel company and continues to grow in leaps and bounds, and created it from one hotel and today having 16, and with massive international pipeline, which will double the size of the company in the next 5 years. He's a huge mentor of mine currently. And then, there's lots of, it's mostly about the people that I'm normally working with and learning from them, and just gravitating towards them in terms of learning and growing and asking a ton of questions. I think one of the things that's really, really stood to me over the course of time is curiosity, and always having a thirst for learning and growing. And particularly in hotels, I didn't understand a lot of the terms that people would be using if I was sitting in revenue meeting, or if I was sitting in leadership meeting, and I didn't necessarily understand a lot of the terms that they were using, particularly earlier in my career. And writing those questions down and always having somebody to ask those questions to, and somebody that I felt very safe with, and somebody that I knew that would not necessarily, make fun of me, but someone that I could trust and that would answer all my questions. And I think that has really been a great gift that I've been given throughout the years too, having those people in my life to be able to ask those questions in a safe space where I trusted them, they trusted me, and I was able to learn throughout the process. And even today, I continue to ask a ton of questions, which allows me to grow and learn, which is hugely important because that's the one thing about hotels is yes, they're always different, but they're also evolving and changing, which keeps us as leaders also engaged, which is amazing.
I think it takes a lot of humility to be able to ask a lot of
Yes.
questions.
Yeah. And then if you have those mentors or those people that you trust that love sharing the information with you, it's really it is a gift. And I try to do the same. When leaders today even ask me or ask to spend time with me, I always make time for them because again, I was very fortunate to have that going up in my career, and I want to make sure that we continue to have that space open for our young leaders as they're growing.
Speaking of young leaders, you've been involved with Women's Path to Power.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, we created that in Miami. We created it when I was part of the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. I was part of the board in the Miami chapter. Went on to become the president of that chapter. And when we did, we created we created that for women in Miami, and it was all the women leaders from the human resources to general managers that were running hotels and allowing. So there was a committee of us, and we would host events on a quarterly basis for all the female leaders that were working in hotels. And at first, we were like, oh, maybe we'll get 25, maybe we'll get 30. And at our first breakfast, we had over 100 leaders, female leaders show up. And we realized quickly that we were onto something, that there was very much a need in the market as all these young leaders, female leaders, were joining the industry. They really wanted to hear from others on how we were creating and forging the path for them. Which is, of course, why we created that committee, and it was impactful and powerful to see the growth of that particular committee over the years that I was involved in it, because there is such an unbelievable need for women to learn in this industry, and it was very rewarding. And I know for a fact that they continue it today, and it continues to be very successful, which is fantastic.
It's great. What a
Yeah.
great
Yeah,
initiative.
I think we had set up the room for 25 people, and it was like I'll never forget, it was at the Biscayne Marriott, and we had to like bring in all these tables and chairs, and we were doing it on a panel, and there was a few of us on the panel, and they asked questions, and it was supposed to be 30 minutes. It went on for like an hour and 30 minutes. It was crazy. And we were like, okay, well, make sure that we plan it that next time a little better as it relates to, like, we didn't realize how popular it would be out of the gate, which is just shows you that there is that need and that the desire for others to learn and grow from others, which is great.
And then what is your approach to mentorship when you mentor other people? And give me a few success stories. You don't have to drop names, but tell me some stories of some people you helped.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's so many, but I will say my approach or my theory on mentorship is it's hugely important. We have a program here at Montage Laguna Beach for every exec member. So we've got 11 executive team members on our committee here, and each one of those executive committee members mentors two leaders throughout the hotel, which means about 22 or so to 24 leaders in the hotel every single year get a mentor in their executive committee member. And for example, our executive chef will typically not have anyone near in F&B. He will typically, for example, have somebody from accounting or maybe somebody from the spa, hugely different areas, but the same breath, the leadership component and the leadership values are equally as important to share with those leaders in those areas that stand true just in culinary and food and beverage. So it's an amazing program that we do every single year, and it's hugely successful. And even to this day, we have these leaders that are growing and learning, and then they meet twice a month, and they can take them to lunch or dinner, or they can have it in their office. and or they can have coffees, whatever. It's just as long as you're spending time together and sharing a little bit of value. So mentorship is hugely important to me. Some great stories recently. I had when I joined Montage Laguna Beach, our director of sales and marketing, Anne-Marie Doyle. She was our director of sales and marketing here at Laguna, and she'd been here for 4 years. And very quickly, she had become a formidable leader in the hotel. And when I joined, we didn't have a hotel manager. And over the course of the next year or so, I promoted her to hotel manager. So she was my hotel manager for a little while here in Laguna Beach. And when we had an opening for general manager at our Pendry in West Hollywood, we were able to get her promoted into that position. And that was a huge success story, which is someone that I'm very proud of. She's a general manager today. When 4 years ago when we met, she was director of sales and marketing, and she's thriving. She's doing exceptional in West Hollywood, and I'm most proud of her. Another great story is when I worked way back in the day, about 20 years ago. So when I worked at the Ritz-Carlton in Lake Las Vegas, there was a young gentleman by the name of Derek there. He was guest services. He was in the valet. And every time I would have guests, or every time I had, site visits, he was always there, was always knowledgeable, and always knew who the customers were. And he obviously just stood out. And through the course of working with him in Ritz-Carlton, in rooms division, we had obviously formed a great relationship. And when I moved to Fontainebleau in Miami, I was looking for a director of front services, or front desk, director of front desk. I called Derek, and he relocated from Lake Tahoe at the time, and he came to work at Fontainebleau, and was my director of front office. We worked together at Fontainebleau for over 11 years, where he was promoted up to vice president at the rooms division. So he did exceptionally well. And fortunately, today I was able to recruit him into Montage International. And now he's our general manager at our soon to open in the next week or so, our Pendry in Nadavar in New Jersey. So Derek, who started off in guest services in Lake Las Vegas at the Ritz-Carlton together, is now a general manager at our Pendry in Nadavar and in Jersey, where we worked together for over the last 20 years. So it's great to see his growth, and someone that I'm extremely proud of, that was always curious and open to learn and asked a ton of questions. And it's great to see that he's now a general manager today. I'm extremely proud of him, and Anne-Marie, of course, in West Hollywood.
Well, congratulations to both Derek and was it Annalie?
Anne-Marie, yeah.
Anne-Marie. Those are some great success stories. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And it's great. And they did all the work and did the hard work, but it's really great as their leader or previous leader to see their growth. And, they've boundless, opportunities to continue to grow. So I'm very proud of them both. Thank you.
It's great to be able to water some soil and then see those plants and come up and then bear fruit.
It is. And there's so many more stories. I mean, there are two that I've worked with so recently and in my role here in Montage International, but definitely those two stand out for me because they're so recent, but there's so many more. And it's simple as having a conversation with someone or formally mentoring someone, but this is an amazing industry for mentorship, and it's hugely important. And I hope and encourage everyone to continue to make sure you find that one person or 10 people that you can help grow, because the industry is going to need the talent as we continue to go around the world.
True. I know you've shared in the past about the importance of having diverse teams. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, diversity is everything, in my opinion. It allows for others' opinions to be shared. It gives you different perspectives and everything. It gives you different viewpoints from different parts of the world, not just in gender and race, but also in thought processes and backgrounds and religious beliefs and political beliefs. There's so much value from having a diverse team, and I strongly believe in it. And it's also a very strong belief of Montage International, and as such, I'm one of our diversity trainers that goes around to the other Montage hotels and trains on the value of diversity, on having a diverse and equitable and inclusion and an environment where everyone feels like they belong. And it's everything. It allows not only for the growth of the organization in terms of culture, but also in terms of business and thought process, and just making sure that every single person feels included, not only from an employee standpoint, but also from a guest standpoint. And it's something that is so very important to me. And it's so important to Montage International that we invest in it every single year, where we train and we retrain and we revisit all of the pillars and the reasons why diversity is important to Montage International. And I absolutely love going out into the field and training on our DEIB program, which is not only so rewarding and fruitful for me as a person, but also as a professional with Montage, to see how inclusive and how important it is to the company. And it's just very rewarding. And particularly on teams, if I join a team or see a team that doesn't have a lot of diversity, and again, not just in gender or race or religion, on all areas, backgrounds and thought processes, and where, different parts of the county that people live, and how they get to work, and how they get to all everything is hugely important, because it just gives you so much more value, and the results are just far greater when you have a diverse team.
Now, Montage created a role for Ron Webster on
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
correct?
yeah. Yes, originally Juan, who was a colleague, I started off as a GM. Juan was my colleague. He was the general manager of our amazing hotel in the Penbury, Baltimore. That's exactly right. Not only do we have so much belief in this in terms of like having the general managers teach classes on diversity, we also created an entire role as senior corporate director position for Juan Webster, who of course was a GM and is now our corporate director of diversity and inclusion, equity and belonging. And not only does he lead our trainers, which he would also divert people to where they're training and what they're training on and when they do the training in terms of diversity. We have monthly calendars, we have weekly activities, and it's something that all comes from Juan and his team. But he also represents Montage in a huge amount of events, and also trade shows that are all focused on diversity, ensuring that it's first and foremost one of our pillars of our growth, but not making sure that everybody understands the value of it, from all the hotels to all of our corporate directors in the company, because it's hugely important to us and our growth as well as our success, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think it's very important that everyone has a voice and is heard, no matter their background or circumstances.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And that's something that is very evident and very obvious in the culture of Montage from the day you join. And I'm very proud that the company puts so much value into it, and it's paying off in huge portions, because the company's growing at an unbelievable rate, which is wonderful, but it's also hugely successful. So both things are tie into each other.
A couple more questions before we wrap up. This one is going to lead into my next question. How do you define luxury?
Luxury's changed so much over the years. I think back when I joined Ritz-Carlton back 25 plus years ago, luxury was very different in terms of who could avail of luxury or who could afford of luxury. And to fast forward to today, where luxury is all about truly how you make the guest feel, and that it is open and available to everyone, and making sure that every guest feels that they are welcome in your hotels, but that they also have an exceptional experience that makes them feel very special. So to me, luxury experiences, and luxury opportunities are all about how we make the guest feel. For example, here at Montage, it's over $2,000 a night to stay here, which is a tremendous amount of money. And of course, the luxury expectations are very high. But at the end of the day, it's how our associates make those guests feel, that they don't even think for a second about the money that they've left here or spent here. And it's about the memories that they carry home with them and about the feelings that they have as it relates to the experience that they had at our hotels. So to me, luxury is all about a feeling and how you leave the guests feel and how they walk away from your hotel when they stay with you. Whereas before, I think it's a lot more to do with, it was a little bit more stuffy, or it's a little bit more centered around, maybe opulence or any, stuff like that, but not necessarily about how you made the guests feel. And now today, to me, it's all about a feeling that luxury is and how you make the guests feel when they leave you.
How do you think luxury will change and evolve over the next 10 years?
I think that will actually stay the same. I think the guest will want more experiences that make them feel special. So I think as we're evolving, as hotels are evolving, I think that making sure that the more experiences that you have for them as individuals or as families or as business travelers, the more opportunities for them to focus on their wellness and their health, and for time for them to really use those hotel stays where they can actually focus on themselves and focus on a little bit of downtime will be hugely important in the future. And the more experiences and the more individual curated experiences that we have for our guests are going to become even more important. They're important today, but they're going to become even more important in the future. So making sure that all of your food and beverage is not just, having a restaurant, but having an activation and having events and having tastings or having little experiences that make them feel like they're getting the value for the money. And then making sure that there's a continuous focus not only on wellness, as we all know is hugely important to everyone, but having safe spaces and experiences for them to also work on their own mentality also. So that's really important, I believe. But,
Well, you've done a great job at making me feel welcome, and I hope you've done the same for our guests listening in. I'm sure they felt the love as well.
uh,
Thank you so much for sharing your words of wisdom, your journey that you've gone so far, and I know you'll have a great next 20 years ahead of you
Thank you,
in this
Brandon. I
space.
loved spending time with you and your, of course, listeners. And I really am so grateful for you for having me and including me in this unbelievable podcast and for all the work that you do. We thank you. So it's not easy. I know, and it's a lot. It's consistent work that you have to do, but we thank you for your commitment to the luxury space also.
Well, I do it so others can learn from it and become better leaders, and
Love that.
and help create other better leaders and just
I love
elevate
that.
everything. So,
Yes.
thank you. Have a great rest of your day, and we will be in
You too.
touch.
We will, of course, and thank you for everything. It's been great.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.